Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.
Hello and welcome to Notice Tonight, the show that decodes the region. More than 4 months after what was described as a conclusion to the protracted Naga peace talks between the government and the insurgent groups, an agreement has still not seen the light of the day. What is going on? That's the big question. Now there are clear signs that the Naga people are getting increasingly restive, with several organizations like the Nagaland Gaon Federation holding a massive rally in Kohima on Monday and sought details of what was going on besides pushing for an early settlement of the Naga issue. The federation submitted a memorandum to Prime Minister Narendra Modi through Nagaland Governor and Peace Interlocutor R.N. Ravi. Several questions arise. What is it that is obstructing the Naga peace deal? Is it the claim over the Naga areas in Manipur? Is it the issue of a separate flag or constitution for the Nagas? Is it over the shape of the interim government in Nagaland that is, of course, expected to be formed once the deal is signed? Is it difficulty over transition of the Naga rebel leaders from being insurgents to participants in the Indian electoral democracy? We do not know. And that's why organizations like the Gaon Federation are talking about the need for transparency. One can understand the government's silence, but how is it that the Naga rebel groups who are engaged in the dialogue process are silent as well? Let's debate. I am joined from Kohima by Dr. Rosemary Juvisu, advisor to the Naga Mothers Association and professor at Nagaland University. Mr. Teza Terry, a senior leader of the Naga Tribes Council, one of the most respected civil society groups in the state. He is also joining me from Kohima. From Shillong, I am joined by Dr. Viezier, professor at Nehu, and who always have a different point of view. And with me in the studios is political analyst and commentator, Mr. Swapnanil Barua. Also, joining me on the phone line from Medzifema, near Dimapur, is Dr. Viezier Sanyu, president of the Overseas Naga Association and a well-known author and historian. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Notice Tonight. I'll first like to go to you straight, Dr. Rosemary Juvisu. 4 months since 31st of October last year, when the impression was given that everything is sorted out, the peace dialogue has been concluded, a breakthrough has been achieved, nice photographs have been circulated. After that, total silence, and that has led organizations to go take to the streets, take out rallies and demand transparency and wanting to know what is going on. What is your take at this point in time, Rosemary?
Wasbir, like all other Nagas, I think we are very concerned. We have reached a stage, I think, where we also have a conflict fatigue. It is not only with perhaps the negotiating groups, but it is also especially with the public and the women as well.
Right.
I hope to see in the coming days more clarity, definitely more clarity. We still have not lost hope. Numerous statements and comments have been given out, but I think we are still yet to hear from the main negotiators themselves, and hopefully in the coming days we will see more clarity.
All right. Conflict fatigue. Mr. Teza Terry, along with the Nagaland Gaon Federation, I think the Naga Tribes Council, which you are representing, had also, gone public, wanting to know what is going on and wanting some clarity, as Dr. Rosemary Juvisu has said. Do you think it might lead to complications if there is further delay? What do you think at this point in time?
Yeah, Mr. Wasbir, along with the GB Federation, the tribal bodies also came out, and we have spoken our mind to the government of India that the time is ripe for the arrival of solution. If we look around the Northeast, the situation as of now is very conducive. And since the formal talk is over by October, we are already in the 5th month.
Right.
We know that 70 years of conflict, it will not be easy to resolve. And solution also need to take time. We understood. But if the contentious issues are resolved, what is the point waiting and keep the people in dark? I think government of India must prioritize, they must take position, and it's a time for them to take a call. And for the Naga political negotiators, they have to be pragmatic, they have also to appreciate the contemporary political realities, and they must bring this talk to a logical conclusion.
Extremely important point there that Mr. Tezatari is making. He is wanting that, there should be some transparency. People have to say what is going on. And the most important point that he has made, the Naga national political groups also needs to be pragmatic, go with the times, the contemporary times, and understand the difficulties in addressing the issue. And of course, he has talked about a quick solution to the issue after 70 years of protracted insurgency in the area. Quickly go to Professor Viezier Mao. Professor Mao, everybody is concerned. The Naga people are concerned. After all, it is the 5th month since everybody was told that a breakthrough has been achieved. What, according to you, is the cause for this delay? Can you hazard a guess?
The delay in the conclusion of the peace talk is because both the parties, that is the government of India and the NACN-IM and other groups, they have fixed mindset. That is the government of India's side. They do not want to have any settlement outside of the Indian constitution. And from the other opposite side, the NACN-IM and others, their demand is so high that the government of India cannot, if not impossible, they find extremely difficult to meet. Therefore, there has to be a further fresh reflection and new thinking on the fixed standpoint by both the parties so that they can arrive at which will be mutually
you are talking,
beneficial to each other.
Professor Mao, you are talking about the need for a new thinking.
Right.
You are talking about the need for a new thinking on both sides.
That's right.
Okay, I'll come to you, Swapnil Barua, in a minute. But
absolutely.
I'm coming to you, Mr. Swapnil Barua, in a minute. But Dr. Rosemary Zuvisu, is there time now? Isn't it too late for a fresh thinking? Because when we heard about the conclusion of the talks in October end last year, I think that was after a lot of thinking, isn't it, by both sides? If there is fresh thinking introduced today, do you think everything has to start from the beginning then? That is what, of course, Viezier Mao is talking about a need for a fresh thinking on both sides.
Wasbir, we must remember that the negotiations have been going on for the last 20 plus years. Even the 7 NNPGs which have come on the negotiating table, they are also ready with their set of terms and conditions. And I think we're all aware of what really is going on. The priority right now is not the fresh thinking or the new thinking. I think the priority right now is for the interlocutor to ensure that both the two sides come together to at least sit across the table and have a dialogue. I think we had talked about this even in October. I would still reiterate, as an academician and studying the course of these talks that are going on, I would still think that the solution would definitely come in having the groups sitting across the table, perhaps without any conditions, and coming to some kind of meeting points,
Right.
where we would have perhaps an easier solution.
Okay.
And we must remember that if we just signed with one group, it definitely is not going to bring a permanent solution or even a solution that we are dreaming of. It
Okay.
definitely has to
Right,
be inclusive.
absolutely. I'll come back to you, Dr. Rosemary. I'm coming to you in a minute, Mr. Teza Theri. Mr. Swapnanil Barua, from what the three panelists, very, very well informed and very, very influential voices from Nagaland and Shillong, they're saying that you've heard that, Professor Mao talking about new thinking and Dr. Rosemary Zuvisu saying that you have been talking for 20 years. This is not the time for new thinking, but this is the time for tracing out the issue through face-to-face sitting across the table. Now, when you hear Mr. Teza Theri saying that the Naga national political groups, meaning the rebel leaders, also must be pragmatic, now that's an indication that perhaps the Naga national political groups, whether it is the NSCN-IM or whether it is the 6 to 7 other factions of the NSCN, perhaps they are a little too rigid, making it a little difficult for perhaps, we don't know, but these are all guesses, perhaps making it difficult for the government of India to actually get the whole accord in black and white and get the signatures of all the groups. As Dr. Rosemary said, so signing of an accord with one group is not going to bring about a permanent solution. What do you think from a distance? Sitting in Guwahati, what do you think, Mr. Barua?
If I talk hypothetically also, what it appears to me is that the negotiations have been going on in between the insurgent groups and the government. Some agreement has been arrived at, but the people don't know what the agreement has been arrived at.
Right.
Now, the biggest difficulty with this is that the insurgent group is fighting the war with the Indian Union for the people. And now, yet they are leaving the people out of the whole game as to what has been the negotiation or what are the actual aspirations of the people
Right.
when they realistically think. Now, what has happened is that I think a status quo which is comfortable to both the government and the insurgent groups, whatever they are,
Yeah.
is causing this kind of a status quo to allow. The agreement has been reached. Everyone is happy that there is a certain document,
Yeah.
and no one knows where the document is. It is like must be in a deep vault in the Ministry of Home Affairs or the External Affairs Department, and maybe even in the Prime Minister's office. And yet, other than those signatories, the people whose futures will be affected, they don't know what is going, what has been agreed to.
Mr. Teza Theri, I'm coming to you, Professor Mao. Mr. Teza Theri, as Mr. Swapnanil Barua, a political analyst who has been a senior IS officer working in the government for nearly 35 plus years, he has said that, all the Naga national political groups, we can understand the government can be silent, but the Naga national political groups have been working for the Naga people. Why can't they tell something to the people? Why can't they share a few things with the people? At the end of the day, the entire movement is for the interest of the Naga people, isn't it? That is something which people outside Nagaland or maybe within Nagaland are finding it a little difficult to believe. Can you express what is going on actually?
Yeah, the contents, the competence, the
asking me?
points are within the prerogative of the negotiators. If they have any difficulty, if they want to take people into confidence, then they are at liberty to share with the people. After all, this is not a political party's solution.
Yes.
Solution is for the people. It is Naga political movement. The movement is initiated by the people. And therefore, finally it has to land. And unless the people accept, this cannot be also a solution. So obviously, they should take people into confidence, but they should not also prolong this for too far. 23 years is good enough.
Right.
Enough is enough.
I'm-
we cannot allow the
Right.
status quo to remain.
Right. Now, I'm coming to you, Dr. Mao, but Dr. Rosemary, do you agree with what your fellow panelist, Mr. Teza Terry, has said? The movement is for the people. Therefore, it is necessary to share certain things with the people so that they also know what the agreement, when it finally signed, looks like. Or do you think, why is it so difficult to share, take the people into confidence? Or do you think the civil society is enough? Do you think the civil society represents the people after all, so it's enough to share with a few civil society groups?
Well, even if
Wasbir,
they
I
share or
think
they
the
don't
negotiating
share,
parties
their core demands
the
are very
different
clear.
groups,
Mao,
I
I'm
think
coming
they
to
have
you.
their own
Professor Mao,
strategies.
I'm coming to you. After
okay.
immediately. Yes, Dr.
Fine.
Rosemary, please continue.
Okay.
Dr. Rosemary, please continue.
Wasbir, I think the negotiating groups, they are well aware of the kind of terms and conditions they are negotiating on. And I think it would be wrong to even assume and think that the leaders, many of the public leaders, maybe many of the civil societies, it would be wrong to assume that the terms and conditions of many of the points of both the two sides is not known. To many it is known. There are many commonalities, and that is why my stand and my take is that it is important for them to sit across the table and look at issues that are common, which they can talk about and negotiate together.
Yes.
Let's talk to. I am now joined by Dr. Viezier Sanyo.
Negotiations that they need to.
Okay, Dr. Rosemary. So if we can connect with Dr. Viezier right now, that'll be good. So can we talk to Dr. I'm asking my producer whether we can talk to Dr. Viezier Sanyo right now. Yes. So there is no point in talking to him after 10 minutes. Let's talk to him right now. Yes, I am now joined. Professor Mao, I'm coming to you. Please bear with me. I am now joined by Dr. Viezier Sanyo. Dr. Viezier Sanyo is the president of the Overseas Naga Association. He is a well-known writer and historian. He has come up with a path-breaking book in 2018 on the situation. Let's go to Dr. Viezier Sanyo, who is joining me on the phone line. He is located in Medji Fema, which is near Dimapur, Nagaland's commercial hub. Dr. Viezier Sanyo, welcome to Northeast Tonight. This is Wasbir Hussain here. Okay, we have lost that line to Dr. Viezier Sanyo. Yes, I'm coming to you, Rosemary. But Professor Mao, what according to you could be the main reasons? I'm coming with this question to my panelist in Kohima as well. What is your guess? What are some of the issues you think could be delaying a Naga peace accord?
Well, it is very clear the government of India wants the Naga political solution within the framework of the Indian Constitution, whereas the Naga political group, including the NSC and IM, they want outside of the Indian Constitution. And that is the core issue where meeting point is
but
difficult
I have to
together.
intervene. Professor Mao.
Therefore,
no, Professor Mao, you see, then you see in October, the government of India, in October, the two sides said there was a breakthrough.
There was an agreement.
There was an agreement. There was a breakthrough in October 31st. Then if that means we have to understand if there is a breakthrough, Professor Mao, we have to understand that both the sides have arrived at a middle point.
Yes.
And it has to be within the Constitution. So I think that was understood. Then what is the problem, according to you?
well, that is only just a broad framework. And if it is within the Constitution, then why the separate flag, separate constitutions are raised? They are outside of the Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution does not permit that.
Okay.
Therefore, for which a fresh thinking is needed.
All right. Professor Viezier Mao is still with the fresh thinking. Yes, now let us have on the screen Dr. Viezier Sanyu. Dr. Viezier Sanyu is the president of the Overseas Naga Association, well-known historian and a writer. Dr. Viezier Sanyu, welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Viezier Sanyu, can you hear me? First of all,
Yes,
this is...
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. You are also loud and clear on the program.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Sanyu, you see, we are now discussing why is the delay in the Naga Accord when everybody was made to understand that the breakthrough has been achieved on the 31st of October last year. So what, according to you, could be some of the reasons? What is the fate of the Naga Accord? How do you read the situation? What is your personal assessment?
Well, in my observation, all the parties have made very big mistakes. First of all, the Indian government has made a very big mistake. Then IM has made a mistake, and NPG has made mistakes, and the public is adding fuel to the fire, making more confusion, making fake news, and everybody is panicked and angry and confused. First of all, the problem with the Indian government is they do not understand their greatness and their wisdom. India is a great country. It has a rich history. It has the wisdom and can handle this. But the people who have been entrusted and people who are dealing this are not showing that greatness. And they are neglecting. The problem is the whole of Northeast India is watching this issue. Burma is interested. China is watching, Pakistan is watching, Bangladesh is watching, and all the Northeast people are watching this to see what will happen to this 70-year-old issue.
Right.
Okay. Secondly, the IM make a very big mistake initially by telling lies to the public. They said we're bringing sovereignty, we're bringing integration, and they keep talking about sovereignty. If they were honest with the people and said, look, we are not negotiating with sovereignty, which you all know, but we may be able to get something that is honorable, that is dignified, and that is good for us.
Yeah.
Then that would have been better. Now, the NNPG, somehow I heard that Ravi was saying that he was happy to go ahead with an NPG without IF. Now, that would be a very big mistake again. Because if that is so, it will be like Naga People's Convention, where there was a trouble between the NNC and the government of India. A third party came and signed an agreement. So because, for better or for worse, IM started the negotiations, it should be IM, or it should include IM.
Okay.
And if you don't include them, then we're going to be in serious trouble. Now the people, the public is so confused that they are talking in some strange language, talking about sovereignty, shared sovereignty, and they don't know where they're going. Because everyone has become a political analyst. Everyone has become an expert.
Everyone has become a political analyst. Dr. Viezier Sanyu, please stay on the line. Let me bring in the other. Let me bring in.
Can I just make a point
here?
here?
Yes, Swapnil. Let's have the other panelist on.
As I am hearing the discussions as an outsider, I am getting an impression that there has been no agreement at all, and there has been some broad consensus, and the whole responsibility of breaking the consensus or agreement items has been left to the Naga leaders to break it to their public. But the deal must have been in the personal interest of the groups. I mean, I'm not saying personal in the sense of you and me, but more concerned with the future of the respective organizations than the people at large. And so that has put that has created a difficulty for the Naga leaders to really break out to their people and tell them that what has been the consensus
Okay, but
or agreement.
Mr. Swapnil Barua is playing the devil's advocate there. He must be thinking that there are groups are wanting to work in their interest rather than the interest of the people. Okay, that may or may not be correct. We don't know. But Dr. Rosemary Duvisu, we have heard Dr. Viezier Sanyu making some very, very straight to the point, comments. He said that the people are absolutely confused. Because the government of India is great, they have the wisdom, but they have not been able to utilize the wisdom. But is it because their reality is that, it's talking about inclusion of more areas, it's talking about a separate constitution, it is talking about a separate flags, there are different kinds of demands. From that hype generated over integration, the hype generated over greater Naga limb, it is also difficult. You have to, talking from the point of view of the rebel groups, it's also difficult to come down. Are these, according to you, some of the reasons that may be behind the delay in the accord being actually reached? What do you think?
Are you asking me?
Wasbir, there are complications.
Yeah.
And I do agree to a certain extent with what Viezier has analyzed. But you must remember at the same time that the groups themselves have a history to remember. And I think Nagas have a history where we have made mistakes. And I think these are the same mistakes we should not repeat now. On that, I think all are agreeable. And the kind of plans that are put forward by the different groups at the negotiating table, it's not a secret to the Indian government.
Yeah.
People are more confused now with contradictory statements that are being made. No, they didn't say this and they didn't say that, So my point is again going to be stressing on what is the difficulty in the interlocutor bringing the groups for a sitting together, face to face, and going through their documents together. What is the difficulty? Because
I think that is the crack. That is very important.
It has to be done.
Yeah,
it has to be done.
Viezier, Dr. Viezier, that's a very interesting point made by Dr. Rosemary Duvisu. Is saying that after all, if we have to reach one accord, if we have to get one Naga peace agreement, why not bring all the 7 or 8 Naga national groups together and sit face to face and hear each other out and sort it out? Why is it not happening, according to you?
Absolutely. You see, I have no idea why that's not happening. Obviously, they don't trust each other also. But also, on the side of the Indian government, they have not been strong enough to request them to come together and talk. I believe that is one of the matter. But on one hand, I just want to say that the issues are not very big at the moment. They have come to some, whatever that is, they have come to some level.
Yeah.
Now, no one knows what is that, and no one have read it. So we are not very sure what is in the agreement.
Right.
But
Professor. Okay,
Yeah.
Dr. Viezier, I'll be going for a 2-minute break, but I'd like to request you to be on the phone line. I will come back to you after 2 minutes, but before that, very quickly, Mr. Tezateri and Dr. Mao, do you agree that there is need for a face-to-face meeting between all the Naga national groups? Is that the need of the hour? First of all, I'd like to ask Xavier Mao. Very quickly. Yes or no? The need for a sitting.
Well, even that is necessary. That is necessary at the same time. On the part of the government of India also, they need to change their mindset from the fixed idea that it should be within the Indian constitution, and even within that, they don't want to meet the full integration of the contiguous Naga areas.
All right.
Therefore,
all right.
on the part of the government of India,
point I'd like to
they
make
need
here.
to
Very
change
quickly,
its-
very quickly.
its
The
fixed
point that
mindset.
I'm like to make is that I think the government of India will not put its foot forward to sell the accord to the people of Nagaland, lest they be misunderstood. it is the government of India would expect the other parties, the Naga parties involved in the accord, to sell the accord
to break it. You mean to say to break it?
The accord to the people and get them accept the accord as has been agreed on.
Okay. Mr. Teza Terry, what is your take? I'll come back for a detailed discussion after this break, but is it necessary for a face-to-face meeting between all the participating groups and the government?
Yeah, interlocutor have made himself clear. He has announced that all the negotiators have agreed to come on board, which means they are willing to sign one agreement on one paper.
Yes.
Then the process should be expedited. They may have political differences. They may have ideological principle differences. To me, that is not important. What is important is they have the same objective. That is the aspiration of the people. I think the final call must be given by the government of India.
Okay. Final call by the government of India. And by the way, we have one of the best negotiators on behalf of the government of India in the form of the Nagaland governor, Mr. R.N. Ravi. And it is up to him and the Prime Minister to now intervene, and the Home Minister of this country to intervene and push things through. I'll go for a short break. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let me go to Kohima, and before I come to Dr. Viezier Sanyu, Dr. Rosemary, lot of, as I have also mentioned in passing, a lot of people are saying a lot of things. People are saying that the shape of the interim government, if I take you to 1986, when the Mizo Peace Accord was signed, there was only one group that was involved, that is the MNF. And its top leader, Mr. Laldenga, was installed as the interim chief minister. Lalthan Haula had made way. There was absolutely no problem. But in the case of Assam's Bodo areas, after the BLT Accord in 2003, it was with only one group. So Hagrama Mohilari was installed as the interim chief executive member. There was no problem. But in Nagaland, a lot of people are saying that now there's 7 to 8 groups involved. Suppose Chief Minister Nephew Rio has to make way, which he has been promising. If he has to make way, who is going to be the interim Chief Minister? Is it going to be Mr. Muiva? Let us talk straight. I think the time has come to talk things straight. Mr. Muiva is from Manipur. So are these issues really issues, or are these, in the realm of the media only? But are these not real issues?
Wasbir, definitely these are core issues that are facing, I'm very sure, the days ahead. And looking at Mizoram or the Bodos, we have seen the kind of situation they are in. The reality of the Naga situation is the number of groups that we have, and particularly the 7 NMPGs one side with the NSEN IM on the other side. And I think it will also depend on, that is why I think it is important to have them sitting across and thrashing out these kind of issues. I somehow don't see the sitting Chief Minister, Mr. Rio, gracefully giving way to an interim government without these things being settled properly. And I think these are the difficult issues that are facing the Nagas.
Mr. Teza Terry, do you have a different view, or do you agree more or less?
It's up to them, but interim depends on the structure which they have agreed. So it has to land, it has to take over the power. I don't want to comment on all these things, but solution to any political problem must also give every person the due share and rightful place. So
Absolutely.
whatever they deserve and whatever is the structure, on that they have to work out who will run the government.
Right.
For that, I think that's not a big issue. It should come out automatically.
So, Professor Mao, you have heard the question. What is your take on this? Is interim government one of the major issues that could be holding back the Naga peace deal, apart from issues of territory, apart from issues of, the core issues, as the NSCNIM once said? NSCNIM at some point of time last year described the flag and the constitution for the Naga people as the core issue. Now, do you think these are some of the issues that is retarding, that is holding back, making the accord elusive?
Not at all. This is not a core issue at all. Once the merger of the Naga-dominated ancestral homelands are integrated or merged, the question of whether one is from Arunachal Naga area or Manipur area or any area, it does not matter at all. What will matter and what will decide is the most capable person, one who commands a lot of respect of the Nagas, and one who is morally good person will be the
all right.
interim
That will
chief
be
minister or leader.
that will be
So that is
yes.
not a core issue at all.
Yes, Professor Mao, that is an ideal situation.
That is an academic situation.
That is an Ethiopian and ideal situation, according to me.
Not
that
at all,
should
not
be.
at all. I disagree.
Okay, let us agree to disagree on that. Let us agree to disagree. Let me quickly go to Dr. Viezier.
Certainly, yes.
Dr. Viezier Sanyu, if you are still on the line.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Viezier, the same question goes to you. We are now trying to find out why is the Naga agreement delayed. Can you give 3 to 4 quickly for my viewers? What, according to you, are the possible top 3 reasons that could be delaying the Naga peace deal? I have listed a few. I think one of the reasons, according to me, in my view, based on my discussions with various people in Nagaland, of course, is that the issue of the interim government. Who will be head the interim government? These are some of the issues. Do you agree? Do you not?
Okay, let me start with this. The delaying part of it is because the Naga issue is different and complex.
Right.
So we cannot draw a conclusion from Mizo Accord, Assam Accord, Bodo Accord. It's just completely a different case. And also it is complex because so many different parties are in the negotiating table, as you have rightly said. So we have to look at the issue from different angles, from a different perspective. Okay? That is one. Number 2 is we cannot discuss about the interim government and who is going to take on without looking at the agreements. Because we do not know what is there in the agreement. We cannot say this party will be take over the power. We cannot say this fellow will be chief minister. Nothing of that conclusion can come without knowing what is the agreement. Once we know the agreement, then we will have some idea. Okay, this is rightly so. But
Dr. Viezier, at the end of the day, it will be a power play, isn't it? It will be a power play. There will be a tug of war. There will be a tug of war between the 7 NNPGs on one side or separately and the NSCNIM on its own. Don't you think there will be a tug of war? Like the tug of war in the Sekreni festival in Nagaland, in Kohima, there will be a tug of war.
It is possible. But if the agreement is clear, then the tug of war can be easier. And I don't think, as Rosemary said, I don't think the government of Nagaland state will easily walk out and say, okay, here you are. I don't think that is going to happen.
But this is the least. This is the least can Chief Minister Nefurio do, or for that matter, any Chief Minister. This is the least they can do for the sake of the Naga people.
Of course, that is true, and that happened in Mizoram. But we are looking here at slightly a different issue. Now, let me point just one point. You see, for example, the issue of the flag became a very big issue last year.
Yeah.
In my mind, if they want a flag, give it to them. The government of India is not going to break up because of that. India's economy is not going to be affected. India's reputation is not going to be affected. So give them something that they want. If they are given due dignity and honor and not humiliated, the issue is easier to solve. Now, let me say one thing as a historian.
Right.
All great nations are great because of the way they treat their small neighbors, their small minorities, and their small people.
Absolutely.
They do not become great because they can suppress the small people
Right.
and the small neighbors.
Right.
This is what exactly the Indian government is failing.
Okay, we'll hope, Dr. Viezier, we'll hope things change. I'd like to thank you at this point, and next time, not on the phone, we'd like to have you live on the show. On that note, I thank you very much for joining me in the program.
Absolutely.
But Dr. Rosemary, but at the end of the day, Dr. Rosemary, what will be according to you, should be the road ahead now? Because there is no point in criticizing anyone. We are not doing the debate to criticize anybody. Let us try to find what is the road ahead now. What are your suggestions that the government and the Naga national political groups and the IM must do? By way of your final wrapping up, Dr. Rosemary.
Wasbir, the last few months have shown us that both sides of the groups are ready for peace. The government of India also seems interested for peace. The people are ready for peace. And therefore, we do need to work out certain modalities to ensure that an agreement is signed. An agreement signing really doesn't mean the end of all our problems, but definitely to ensure that peace comes into our lands wherever it may be. I think the way ahead, as I still say, will depend on the government of India bringing these negotiating groups together, at least to sit down and thrash out issues. And I think that may open up more dialogues and more possibilities in the days ahead for signing an agreement.
Okay, very well said, very well said. Final comments from you, Mr. Tezateri. As I have mentioned, in a lighter note, of course, we are going to see a lot of tug of war like the one, I have not seen it for a very long time, the Sekreni Festival tug of war. Do you expect something like that between all the political groups?
I don't think so. We cannot put the cart before the horse. Before the agreement is mutually signed, talking about interim government is a little bit too early. We are yet to know what will be the political structure, what will be the territorial structure under the agreement. I think everything will fall in line, and there's no cause for us to worry. At the moment, what we have to really work is how to sign an agreement which they have already agreed upon. And solutions should be delivered to the people. This is the right time the solution should come, because the Northeast situation have really come to a conducive level. The atmosphere is very quiet. And what is the problem of government of India to reach out all the neighboring states and talk to them? They are the state of the Indian Union.
Yeah.
I think what is the problem of government of India to take position at the moment? I think there need to be a political will to take a stand and to take a final call. I think to me that is very important.
Absolutely. Political. Professor Viezier Mao, the road ahead according to you?
Well, number one, both the parties of the negotiators should change their fixed mindset, number one. Number two, the vested interests of the certain individual leaders should be either eliminated or, if not possible, minimized. Number three, not hammering too much on the past history, but looking into the present and future with the changed situations and conditions. Keeping these three causes in mind, I feel the problem can be resolved.
All right, very, very well put by Dr.
Yes.
Mao.
But
He has
the
actually-
interim arrangement will come automatically.
Yeah, I think what Professor Mao said, don't look at too much into history. That is what Mr. Teza Theri had also said, that the NNPGs and the other rebel groups needs to be more pragmatic, needs to be more contemporary, needs to take into account the contemporary realities before pushing ahead with their point of view. Of course, I'm not expecting anybody to compromise. I'm not using the word compromise at all. It has to be an acceptable solution. When we talk about an acceptable solution, meaning both sides have to give and take. That is where you get an acceptable solution. Swapnil Barua, your final 20 seconds.
My final words are that the people, the leaders have agreed, the government has agreed. Now let the people put on public what they really want in a realistic, acceptable and reasonable way, and also without compromising on their personal prestige, or sort of, there shouldn't be an element of surrender, but there should be a element of compromise. Put it on the table and push the ball to the court of the government of India that please solve the accord soon.
All right, and perhaps, the one point that we have come here today is that be frank, and that is perhaps the reason why the Gaonbura Federation and the other influential Naga civil society groups, they're talking about transparency. I think transparency can lead to a resolution of a lot of the problems, and of course, once the problem gets further delayed, I think things are going to be much more complicated than what it is now. And if a new set of leadership are to take control of all of these Naga national political groups, or for that matter, the IAM, it could be even much more difficult for the government also to once again arrive at some kind of a midpoint with the negotiating groups. So with that note, I end this edition of Notice Tonight. I thank all my panelists for participating in this very, very engaging discussions, and the viewers for watching the show. Good night and goodbye.
Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.